Beyonce makes a ton of money on her albums very strategically, very smartly. That's why she can overcredit on the front end for all her songs, right? A lot of artists don't do what Beyonce does on the legal side. There is absolutely no way to work with Beyonce in the 21st century and her not take writing credits, regardless of what she does or doesn't do. And at this point, it's Beyonce, but also like if she's redoing the melody of any part of the song, she's taking writing credit anyway. I think I want to start off by playing what Kelis had to say, just because we always have to give context.
Okay, so I just got off stage, but I got off and I saw these retarded comments, so let me just respond. There were some good ones too, but you know, we'll get to those after. So here's the first thing. My hair is cute. Here's the first issue, okay? Number one, it's not even like I'm a human being, so I get pissed off and I get ticked off, right? I'm an artist, so I am, as Erica said, I'm sensitive about my shit. The reality is, okay, is that my real beef is not only with Beyonce, because at the end of the day, she sampled a record, she's copied me before, she's done it before, so have many other artists. It's fine. I don't care about that. The issue is that not only are we female artists, okay, black female artists in an industry that there's not that many of us, right? We've met each other, we know each other, we have mutual friends. It's not hard, she can contact, right? Ash Nico, who's what, 20? She's a young white girl. She reached out when she freaking, like, it's just common decency, right? It's common decency, especially because, as so many of you pointed out, as though I don't know, but let me help you, okay? I know what I own and what I don't own. I also know the lies that were told. I also know the things that were stolen. Publishing was stolen. People were swindled out of rights. It happens all the time, especially back then. So it's not about me being mad about Beyonce. Everyone's like, you're all sheep. And I'm talking to the people who are obsessed and blind, just like, like it's so dumb. It's so ignorant. It's so ignorant. She's one issue because it was stupid and disrespectful and she should have at least reached out. But the real issue is the fact that the people like Pharrell and like Chad really is like an amoeba and just, he's spineless. It's a miracle he can keep his neck up. But Pharrell knows better. This is a direct hit at me. He does this stuff all the time. It's very petty. Very, very, very. And the reality is that it's frustrating. I have the right to be frustrated. Why? Because no one had the human decency to call and be like, yo, hey, would like to use your record. Which, by the way, the reason I'm annoyed is because I know it was on purpose. This is not like they were in the studio and it was, no, this was an on purpose direct hit, which is very passive aggressive. It's very petty. It's very stupid. And I'm going to say what I have to say. I don't mince my words. So all of you Beyonce fans, knock yourselves out. I'm not mad like that. It's not about me being jealous of someone using my song. That's the dumbest, most ignorant thing I've ever heard. Like, grow up. I was not thinking about her or no one else. Not even on no shade. Just not thinking about living my greatest, best life, as I always do. So it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that from one artist to another, you should have the decency and the common sense and the courtesy to call, reach out, a manager, an agent, anybody, just to be like, yo, heads up, this is what we're thinking, this is what we're doing. Even if you're going to do it anyway. Just common decency. Like I said, it's happened before where people at least had the wherewithal to be like, yo, using your record, we understand that like Pharrell totally swindled you out of your stuff. Just want to give the respect because that's what you do, right? No, that's not what happened. So grow up, okay? I don't mince my words. I say exactly how I feel, when I feel it, how I feel it. I don't care who likes it or doesn't like it. It is what it is. These are facts. This is not opinion, okay? These are facts. So just to add to my thought, here's the issue, okay? This is really not about Beyonce or anything else for that. The reality is, okay, and I said what I said, so still all facts, okay? But the reality is that this is more about the fact that like there's a lot of hypocrisy and there's a lot of nonsense. So we've got Pharrell who did an interview, I think last year, talking about artists' rights and how people should be able to rework their deals and artists should be getting credit for what they've done and all this stuff. Where in reality, when I was signed to him, I had the same manager that he had, and he has writing credits on my records, okay? All my singles, coincidentally. And he never wrote a song, a lyric a day in his life, okay? And so, yeah, that's a problem. Number two, we've got Beyonce, who, like I said, out of human decency and artistry and female, just all of the stuff she sings about, all this empowerment and stuff, I don't talk about it, I am about it, okay? So the reality is, all of this female empowerment stuff, it only counts if you really do it. If you're really living it and walking the walk. Don't just talk the talk. It's real cute and fun to sing all these girls' songs. Like, come on now. Let's be real, all right? And then thirdly, you want to talk about Pharrell time? Oh, cause I'm happy. I'd be happy too if I was stealing all kinds of folks' publishing and rights to songs and all kinds of stuff. I actually really, really wouldn't be happy because it's evil. But the point is, okay, is that there's a lot of hypocrisy and someone has to talk about it and bring it up. And it just so happens that I was thrown in this. This is not like I looked for it. I was actually last night, I was posting on my Bounty and Full page, just doing my own thing. And then I saw one of my fan pages and someone was like, oh, that's a collaboration between B and Kelis. No, it's not a collaboration. It's called thievery, because the collaboration, the definition of collaboration, it means that we are working together. There's no working together if you are not even checking to see if everything's cool. That's a problem, okay? I would never do that to another artist. For real. I never have, I never would. Why? Because what's the point? If I like it so much, why wouldn't I just be like, yo, I really like it. Can I use it? What's that? Like, whatever. That doesn't happen, right? It's nonsense. Because some people, I don't know what they think. I don't even care. The point is, something has to be done about it. I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm not going to pop off all the time. I'm saying what I have to say because it's true, okay? But I do think that something needs to be done. It happens to a lot of artists. It happens all the time. And I think that really something needs to change. And this just might be the fuel that I needed to actually do it. Because honestly, I try to keep to myself and stay out of the drama. But if it keeps coming to me, what else am I going to do, right? That's all. So say what you want to say. I don't really care. Peace.
In Beyonce's recent album, Renaissance, on the single Energy, there's an interpolation credit given to Milkshake. Milkshake is the credited song, right? But Milkshake is off of Tasty. Now, the word on the curb and what I've read is that Kelis does not make any money off of her first 2 albums. And her first 2 albums were entirely produced by the Neptunes, but she was not signed to Star Trek at the time. Now, her 3rd studio album, Tasty, which Milkshake is on, she is then signed to Star Trek through Arista Records. Pharrell and Chad, who are the Neptunes, produce a good bit of the album, but on this album, she is also working with a bevy of other producers, which is what's most noticeable about the Tasty album. Now, Milkshake is written and produced by the Neptunes and was originally offered to Britney Spears, but was rejected and given to Kelis instead. So I think what's going on is Kelis is talking about a situation in which she got screwed over 23 years ago, right? Her first album came out in 1999. I Hate You So Much Right Now, her first popular single to chart, came out when I was in high school, all right? I was in like 10th grade when that song came out. I remember it getting played on the box nonstop. I remember how much of a cultural reset that song was, all right? She signed a deal, and likely what she signed wasn't even a label deal, because one thing that's interesting about Kelis's career is almost every album has been put out by a different record label. And this is before 360 deals were happening. And I don't know that Kelis ever was a big enough mainstream artist that one record label was willing to do right by her throughout. And so what ends up happening, especially in that era, from like the late 90s up until 360 deals come into play in the early 2010s, is that, and I mean, still to this day, this happens. Artists will sign a production deal. That's what got Meg Thee Stallion caught up and she into court with Carl Crawford. That's what got Cardi B caught up. Anytime you hear these young artists that become mainstream pop stars having to go to court because they're trying to get out of these production deals, it's pretty standard that urban artists sign production deals with popular producers in order to get their studio time covered and to get their music out. So what likely happened with Kelis is that she signed a production deal that took away her publishing rights. Now, publishing is a little tricky to explain, but generally on a song, there's 50% credit to the writer, 50% credit to the producer. Very rarely does any song get split 50-50 nowadays. In the era in which Kelis came out, because Puffy was really big on this as well, scheming his artists out of their publishing, because publishing for a long time was a white dominated field where you had white publishers coming in and saying, we'll handle all your licensing. We'll ensure you get paid. We'll track radio spins. We'll track, when TV and film became a thing. We'll track how your music gets licensed out to that. Artists who were told about publishing would take advantage of other artists who did not know about publishing. And it's very funny because I'm thinking of an artist who I had a very firm conversation with about making sure if he works with Kanye to get his publishing credits. And I then gave him a book about publishing. And then they did 808 and Heartbreaks. But yeah, they would basically sign a deal where you don't realize that you're signing a deal that says you will do 3 albums with us and we'll give you this much money up front and we'll cover the cost for these things. And we will also then take credits, right? Because people don't know what that means. Now, Kelis is 19 years old at the time of the deal. A lot of people don't have means. Like getting a lawyer who is adroit in the music business is very expensive. And nowadays, when you sign a deal, once you have a meeting. So when we were looking to get an artist signed that I was working with, we had a meeting with Sylvia Rome. They gave us a potential offer. We then went around New York City to all the different lawyers' offices to vet what lawyer we could get that would essentially be the artist's lawyer and also look over the deal. And we met with a lot of different lawyers, and it's expensive. It's hard to be an artist and at that early point in your career, say that I'm going to give you, on top of what the record label is asking for, on top of what my manager is asking for, on top of what I have to pay my publicist, I'm going to then give the lawyer 15% plus a flat payout. And there's just that dynamic of, all right, are we going to pay for a big name lawyer, or are we just going to get somebody who we can pay off real quick? And that's how a lot of artists get screwed. So I don't expect a 19-year-old in 1998 or 97 to have the business acumen to say, all right, you're offering me this deal. Let me go down to 6th Ave and 23rd Street and visit all the music lawyers' offices and see if I can get someone who's going to sign on with me and help me manage this deal. She thinking, I done got kicked out my parents' house. I met these really good producers. They about to put me on. I'm going to just sign with them. Like, and as Kelis retells it, if you listen to some of her interviews, she talks about the fact that it took her a minute to realize how she was getting screwed over because she was doing so much touring and she did not feel broke. And that's often what happens. That's why people are like 5-10 years out saying, oh, I got screwed over from this deal, because it's an elevation in lifestyle. Like, you're no longer homeless. You're no longer couch hopping, especially if you're not home. So you're not thinking about buying a house, about your daily needs. You're on tour and they're covering all the costs of the tour and you're staying at nice hotels and you live in the high life. It's real easy for people to get undermined in that setting. And unfortunately, Kelis is one of those people that got undermined. Now, I don't think Kelis is wrong in her very Leo-esque critique, right? In saying that Beyonce, who does all this girl power and, pro-Black music now, should have, stepped in to help course correct this situation. I don't necessarily think she's wrong, but I also don't think that Beyonce would know what's up without Kelis telling her. Now, the other side of this that's interesting, though, is that Kelis found out about this interpolation, which is essentially why Milkshake is credited on Energy, through a fan tagging her on Instagram. So somebody who doesn't work in the music industry at all tagged her, suggested it was a collab. It's not a collab. And I think it just reignited a lot of really hurtful feelings, which is why she's coming across as if she's so mad at Beyonce. What I really took away from it is that it's like, damn girl, you couldn't look out, but not really Pharrell and Chad. Like, nah, but for real, Chad and Pharrell can go to hell. The issue that's happening here with what is Beyonce's role in this is that the way Beyonce currently produces albums, I don't think there was really any way for Beyonce to know about Kelis being screwed over, especially because, one, all the interviews have said the first 2 albums, and Milkshake is on the 3rd album. For Beyonce to know the specifics of what is going on with Kelis, her masters, and her publishing, I don't think Beyonce would have known unless Kelis said something to her directly. Now, the odd thing is that Kelis and Beyonce definitely have mutuals. And I almost guarantee you that Kelis and Solange are, maybe they're not friends, but they're close acquaintances, because Kelis's last iteration in New York before she went off to Brazil into the farm life was throwing parties with Legendary Damon. And Legendary Damon is kikiing with Solange around the same time. Now, he's close friends with Kelis. They were doing like dinner parties and everything in New York at the time. And so I know that Kelis and Solange, at the very least, have very close connections. And I think Kelis was just going off the cuff, but I'm sure there was opportunity at some point in time for Kelis to at least, like, you know, posting this for her to have a conversation. But I think it's kind of late because the way Beyonce would have potentially intervened is that Kelis would have had to get her side of the story to Beyonce before the album was produced. And then Beyonce would have said, well, I'm not going to work with you unless you get this together. And that potentially could have happened because Beyonce has enough clout. But what particularly happens with Beyonce's records is that Beyonce has an A&R from Columbia Records. It's Teresa Liberba White. This white lady with gray streaks in her hair. She got a farm out in the DFW area, and they do writing camps. Now, everybody pretty much knows if you're going out to Teresa's farm, it's very likely that music is going to be for Beyonce. But you don't know at what point Beyonce is going to use it because they do it pretty regularly. Teresa pretty much handles collecting a bunch of songs that then get sent to Beyonce and Beyonce's team for them to listen through a bunch of demos and decide whether or not they want to proceed with potentially going into the studio to produce a song. Also, Beyonce herself produces a lot of music that does not make the album. It's not like Pharrell and Chad are coming into the studio to help produce a song. Beyonce largely doesn't actually get in the studio with anybody except for her engineer and maybe some of the bigger name producers. But a lot of Beyonce's music gets done in parts. But Beyonce's not one of the people that has a lot of people in the studio with her or that is going into the studio with other artists. What then happens is after she produces a song, it then gets sent out to the publishing and the legal team, and they go through the music and attribute all the accreditation to it. Now, through the process of all these different players helping to work on a song, they also have to acknowledge whatever attributions go to that song. And I think the way that Beyonce in particular credits interpolations, a music interpolation is like a reference typically of a musical lyric or a melody that is used in a song. And honestly, an interpolation is not something that you have to do. There's a lot less legal recourse when it comes to the use of interpolations. But I feel like Beyonce in particular is extra careful and goes overboard with crediting interpolations. I think that's a byproduct of the blurred lines case that Robin Thicke and Pharrell went through with the Marvin Gaye estate, in which they lost. And that case has a lot of controversy amongst copyright lawyers, intellectual property lawyers, and musicians, because that case was decided by a jury. None of them are musicians. So you have a bunch of people who have little to no understanding of music theory, of chord progressions, of music composition, deciding whether sonically they heard a sample of Marvin Gaye song on Blurred Lines. And that case cost a lot of money because you go through a lot of litigation, and then they lost the case, and it sets a precedent that a jury can then decide about whether a song has been sampled or not, and then should be the song and the songwriters should be accredited. And so Beyonce can take the hit and just give kind of over credit folks essentially in the process, but Beyonce isn't necessarily handling that legal element. And I know because you know Kelis is a musician, I know she's noticed the way Beyonce has credited people, and so I get why I get the comments she's making, right? She's off the cuff. She's thinking it's Beyonce. She's thinking it's business Beyonce. I know how you credit people. I know what you about, have my back. But also, Pharrell, you really f***ed up for it. But the thing is that, like, Beyonce isn't the one that's clearing the samples. The publisher clears the samples. The publisher typically handles the clearing of all the songs. And honestly, it's not even because, you have a person at the publishing company that oversees an urban department, or who's the person that comes in and brings you in and gets you signed to the publishing deal. But it's really the legal team that's downstairs working to clear everything. And the publisher that you work directly with is just project managing the publishing side of things. Now, on her side, Beyonce, unless she knew about what Kelis was going through, likely thought, all right, we're giving an interpolation credit to Milkshake because we have that. What is it? The drums? Is it the bass? Is it the la 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 la? Whatever part, different people are hearing different parts of the song. Okay. She adds it as an interpolation, and she's thinking, I've done enough because I am giving credit to Kelis. It's her song, right? So Kelis and the producers, who we know to be the Neptunes, and you're assuming Kelis is accredited as a writer. It's her third studio album. It's tasty. That she will then also get the publishing portion for herself off that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And there's nothing that you, at no point in you sending in your paperwork for the publishing to get clear, for the interpolations to get clear, that the lawyers are going to come back and say, hey guys, did you know only Pharrell and Chad are accredited on this track amongst all the other samples and all the other things we have to clear on the album? Like you had a bunch of white people that work on a different floor from everybody else handling all the legal. I promise you, nobody came back and said to her, oh, did you know that Kelis is not accredited as a writer on this song? So the last, well, not Renaissance so much, but we'll wait and see how she does the visual element of Renaissance. But the last two albums, Beyonce and Lemonade, were dropped the day of with full visual features. And then not only were they dropped with full visual features, but because there's a music video for every song on the album is a single. And then with Lemonade in particular, she had an HBO special for it. She then had various Disney Plus, Black is King. So actually the last three albums she's done, she's had a immediate launch, a surprise launch. All songs have visual elements to them. And then the visual of the album is then sold to a streaming platform. And then she goes on tour, right? And then a lot of her music gets licensed out because she's Beyonce, and Beyonce is very popular. And so Beyonce makes a ton of money on her albums, very strategically, very smartly. That's why she can overcredit on the front end for all her songs, right? A lot of artists don't do what Beyonce does on the legal side. There is absolutely no way to work with Beyonce in the 21st century and her not take writing credits, regardless of what she does or doesn't do. And at this point, it's Beyonce, but also, like, if she's redoing the melody of any part of the song, she's taking writing credit anyway. She's been getting writing credit on every song on the album since the first Destiny Child album that came out without LaToya and LaTavia. Beyonce is credited as a writer on every single track on Survivor. Do we believe that Beyonce wrote all them songs? I don't know. But there's two other women in the group, and they're not getting writing credit. And then during the promotion of that album with Bootylicious, Beyonce was so proud that she wrote Bootylicious. Girl, them interviews was a little embarrassing with how proud Beyonce was about, I wrote Bootylicious on the plane. But she got all the writing credits on all the songs on Survivor. And then Destiny Fulfilled, which came out 3 years later, all three of the women, Michelle, Kelly, and Beyonce, are credited on every song on the album, right? But prior to that, Beyonce was the only one in the group getting writing credit, along with her sister getting writing credit opportunities. Beyonce's not the only artist that does this, though. This is actually a very common thing, and I think it's a byproduct of Matthew Knowles, the manager. Yeah, it's dubious when you have other members in your group. Why are they not getting that same privilege? But neither of them have a complaint about it, so I don't know how they got paid off. But Beyonce, since Sasha Fierce, has been making like 80% of her album at least singles. And as somebody on the publishing side, a writer in particular, and a producer, you can really make a lot more money in your craft by saying, oh, I work with Beyonce. But also if you have a single, because in a single charts, and then you have Billboard recognition, you have RIAA recognition, right? So like, I actually have a really old interview on my YouTube channel with my homeboy Corey Lateef, who I met while working at Universal Music Publishing Group. And we do an interview because he had a song that he wrote for Music Soul Child, Teach Me, become a single. And that's how he became Grammy nominated. Now with Beyonce, not only does almost all her songs on an album become singles and chart, and that increases the potential for income, that increases the visibility and licensing opportunity, that increases the international sales of an album as well. Beyonce also gets a Grammy nomination, even though she has not won Record of the Year. She gets a Grammy nomination and wins at least one Grammy for every album she has put out in the past decade. So you then, as a songwriter for Beyonce on her album, because most of the time she is winning for like R&B album, typically, perform however the weird classifications the Grammys has for albums, and they give her everything but album of the year. That also means that if you were placed anywhere on the album, you are a Grammy Award winning songwriter. And then quite a few of her singles go up for various music awards because they're singles. And if you happen to be a writer on that single, you then get to say, I am an American Music Award winner. I'm an MTV Awards winner. Everybody really wants the Grammy. So I'm a Grammy Award winner. And then Black is King. What, did that not get nominated for the Emmys? The Oscars? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of opportunity with a Beyonce song for you to build your career because of the way she very strategically outputs her music. So a lot of people won't even bat an eyelash at the idea that Beyonce off top is going to take 15% of your writing credit. The money you can make after that, folks gonna do it. But Adele does the same thing with writing credits. I'm trying to think who else does the same thing. Cardi B. That's what folks do. They get they publishing in, and I'm gonna end here. Thank y'all for keying with me. I hope this was enjoyable somewhat. I will holler at y'all on the other side. Deuces.